Welcome to the subject of economics for engineers. Let me introduce you to the basic concept of this particular subject. Before going on any further, let us consider or understand the first thing first. What do we mean by the flow? Flow of what? Flow of cash. If we take ourselves to be the internal environment and take the outside world to be the external environment, any movement of cash from the external environment towards the internal environment is treated as cash inflow. That means from outside, if any cash comes back to us, we call it cash inflow. And since when money is coming into our pocket, that means our pocket, whatever the value is, it is basically getting upwards or it is increasing. That's why any kind of transaction or any kind of inward movement of money is treated as positive. The second aspect is when any money flows from the internal environment to the external environment. That means when the money moves from our pocket to the external world, that flow of money is treated as cash outflow. Any outward movement of money is generally treated as negative. So, in short, cash inflow is talked about as positive, any cash outflow is treated as negative. So, if we say any kind of money which has a positive flow at the end of the period is basically treated as income, and any money flow or flow of money which has negative impact at the end of the period is treated as expenditure. From the basic concept of profit, we know that income minus expenditure, if it is giving us a positive figure at the end of the period, the figure will be treated as profit. And if the figure is giving us a negative value, then the figure will be treated as loss. But one thing we need to keep in our mind to understand that any value, we just cannot write minus in front of any value. We have to treat loss by putting in first bracket beside that particular number. This in short is the basic concept of that particular subject or the required subject of economics for engineers. Cost can be furthermore divided into three broader sections, that is fixed cost, variable cost and semi-variable cost. What do we mean by fixed cost? Fixed cost is certainly that kind of cost which remains constant throughout the period in total regardless of changes in the volume of production, but definitely up to a certain level of output. Generally, there is a basic inverse relationship between the volume and the fixed cost per unit. That is, if the volume of production increases, the fixed cost per unit generally decreases. Thus, the total fixed cost do not change with a change in volume but may vary per unit of volume inversely. This is basically what do we mean by fixed cost. Variable cost basically means it will vary in the direct proportion to changes in the volume of production. An increase in the volume means a proportionate increase in the total variable cost, and a decrease in the volume results in a proportionate decline in the total variable cost. Basically, there is a linear kind of relationship between volume and variable cost. There are certain other segment of cost which may fall in between these two portions. Those are called semi-variable cost. They are neither perfectly variable or not absolutely fixed with the change of volume. They change basically in the same direction as volume but not in the direct proportion there too. Basically, what do we mean by that? If you look into the graph of semi-variable cost, it has the starting point of the fixed cost, but it generally increases like variable cost. But up to a certain point it increases, for a certain point it remains fixed. That's why it has a nature of steps. Basically, the curve basically looks like a staircase. That is why also semi variable cost is basically known as step cost. The best example of semi variable cost is the current electricity bill that we get in our home and in any organization. Any organization basic electricity bill has a certain level of fixed attached to it. That means a certain amount needs to be paid every single month, but based on its consumption the particular level increases. That is what we mean by semi variable cost. If we come back to the fixed cost graph, you will see since it does not change with time or production, basically the fixed cost has a linear kind of look, or sorry, the constant kind of look. If that is constant but that fixed cost is a certain value regardless of any output, we have to bear that. That is why it has a positive value in the starting. Coming back to the variable cost curve, you can see if there is zero production, zero volume of sales, that means I do not need to produce any item. If I do not need to produce any item, I do not need to incur any kind of variable cost. So variable cost basically has a starting point of 0. Examples for fixed cost basically are the rents, insurances and the security charges based on the organization. Whereas the examples of variable cost are the wages, are the material incurred in production. Most importantly, any kind of electricity to run the machine will be treated as variable cost. Coming back to the elements of cost, if we see the first picture here, we can see that any cost can be initially subdivided into three broader parts, that is material, labor and other expenses. Similarly, every single head here, that is material, labor and other expenses, can be furthermore subdivided into two more broader part. The two broader part are consecutively direct and indirect cost. If we see the first picture again, I have divided the material into direct, labor into direct, expenses into direct, and I have drawn another head that we call overhead. Overhead is practically all indirect cost treated together. If we come back to the next picture or the second picture here, we can see the overheads has been distributed into three broader section again: factory overheads, office and administration overhead and selling and distribution overhead. Now each factory overhead, office and admin overhead and selling and distribution overhead can again be subdivided into three broader part. Those are indirect material, indirect labor and indirect other expenses. If we come back to the direct material, what do we mean by direct material? All material and every single material that is purchased from stores, any primary packing material, any purchased or partly produced components. What do we mean by direct labor? Any kind of wages that are given to the manpower who are basically involved in the process of production. Any kind of direct expenses, examples can be treated as suppose we or the organization needs a particular machine for a smaller bit of time, so they do not buy it but they hire it. Those kind of machines cost can be treated as direct expenses. If we talk about should I say now the overheads, first thing first, to ease the thing up, should I say to ease the burden of this entire classification, what I can say, students may remember factory indirect other expense, office indirect other expense, selling distribution indirect other expense can be treated as similar three. Those are rent, insurances and electricity bill. Those can be same wise treated as factory indirect other expense, office and administration indirect other expense, selling and distribution indirect other expense. Now in case of factory indirect material are practically the consumable stores, any kind of machine parts that are used, those are known as indirect material. Indirect labor can be the timekeeper's salary, the security guard's salary, the work manager's salary can be treated as factory indirect labor. Office and administration indirect material can be taken as example of printing and stationery materials, the duster and the cleaning items. Indirect labor in office and administration overheads can be treated as salaries paid to office manager. We can talk about accountants, the clerks that are there in the office. Those salary or the wages paid to them comes under indirect labor, office and administration's overhead. Coming back to selling and distribution indirect material, we can talk about the secondary packing material, the printing material on which we can the cartoon on which we put that particular printing material for selling. Second, for selling and distribution indirect labor, we can talk about the wages paid to salesman, sales manager, travel expenses, all can be treated as indirect labor. So basically this is the classification of cost. Apart from fixed, variable and semi-variable cost, there are a certain type of fixed costs available to us. What are those? Let's take a look into it. Direct and indirect cost. The basic definition of direct and indirect cost. First, let us take into consideration the direct cost. Direct costs are that particular expenses for an organization which are directly related to the production of that particular product. This may include the machinery, the equipments, the softwares, most importantly raw materials and the labor. We can assume that labor is specific to the product or that project. We can take an example. If a certain person has been hired to work for us or the organization exclusively for a number of hours, that labor for that particular project is a direct cost. Usually labor and direct material majorly constitutes of the direct cost. Usually most direct costs are variable in their nature, and most we can take an example. Suppose say a smartphone hardware is a direct variable cost because its production depends on the number of units ordered. Similarly, an employee's wages do not increase or decrease in direct relation to the number of products produced. So, not all direct costs are variable. One might be fixed, the other one might vary. Coming back to indirect cost. Indirect cost, are those kind of expenses to the organization which are generally not included in the production process. The material and the supply needed for company's day-to-day operation are examples of indirect cost. Indirect costs may include the supplies, the utilities, the office equipments, the communication devices. All this generally comes under the example of indirect cost. Coming back to certain other type of cost which we know as shutdown and sunk cost. Sunk cost are basically those kind of costs which results from a decision which can no more be revised. That means once the cost has been incurred, in future there is no way of regaining the cost once more. We can take the example of, suppose an organization has bought a particular equipment that once it has been purchased, you cannot revive that particular cost in future. These are known as sunk cost. But in case of shutdown cost are generally those kind of cost which needs to be incurred when the organization generally is not producing, or the production has been suspended for a brief period of time, but in near future the production will be started again. We can say the examples of shutdown cost are the rent of that particular building, the insurances, the depreciation paid, the maintenance cost paid. Those will be or is needed to be incurred even if the organization is shutting down for a brief period of time. The next type of cost generally which we try to talk about, which we will be talking about, is the controllable and uncontrollable cost. Basically, any kind of cost that can be controlled within the range of the organization is generally taken as controllable cost. That cost which can be altered based on the business decision or which has a direct relationship with the product, these type of controllable cost can be taken as examples of direct labor, direct materials, the training costs, the subscription and the overhead costs. What are uncontrollable costs? Uncontrollable cost basically refers back to the external environment cost that the organization has generally to bear, and there is no organization which generally can control those particular costs, like the depreciation, the insurance paid, the transportation cost, the administrative overhead, the rent allocated. These are examples of uncontrollable cost which generally the organization cannot control on their own. Now, coming back to marginal cost. Marginal cost basically represents that particular incremental cost when the organization produce additional units of goods and services. It is basically calculated when the organization takes the total change in the cost of producing more goods dividing that by the change in number of goods produced. If we go by the marginal cost formula, marginal cost is basically change in cost divided by change in quantity. This is what we mean by marginal cost. Last but not the least, let's focus on the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is practically a special type of cost which any organization or any human being incur when they choose to opt for a product, leaving apart the rest of the variety. That means if any organization chooses a particular machine, there will be many variety of those machines available in the market. So when the organization is choosing that particular over the rest, that means the organization is willing to take in the opportunity of that particular machine, leaving apart all the rest. We have to keep in mind that if the organization is leaving the opportunity or gaining the opportunity of one machine, that means with that price range, the organization can only opt for another one machine, not more than one machine. So, at the end of the day, opportunity cost basically is opportunity cost gained is equals to opportunity cost lost. When we see a price of the product attached with the product, we generally think of the visible kind of costs which are attached with that particular product, namely material, labor, and the machinery and all other expenses. But we generally tend to forget about different kind of invisible costs which are also there with that particular product, such as research and development cost, after sale service cost. Those usually we generally ignore. But taking all the costs, those are visible as well as invisible, into account, all the cost incurred in a certain product is called the life cycle costing of that particular product. Like the human life, the product life also increases for a certain period of time, only to decrease and go out of the market after a certain point of time. The graph is practically just going up but coming down, and generally it tends to go up to the 0 point. The major contributors throughout the product life, the costs are the research and development cost, which generally the organization incur even before the production has started, the designing cost of the product, most importantly the manufacturing cost or the direct costs, the marketing costs, the distributions cost, through which these two costs, this marketing and distribution cost, the product basically moves from the house of the producer to the hand of the end user, that is the customer. When we think that if the product has moved from the house of production to the hand of the customer, the life cycle of the product has been ended. The confusion clears up when we incur or the organization incurs one more type of cost, that is the after sale service, which at this particular period or in this particular era is the most important cost incurred by the organization. Therefore, if we consider the life cycle costing, it is basically from the starting to the ending point of the product. So, many call life cycle costing to be the cradle to the grave or the womb to the tomb of the product. This is what we mean by life cycle costing.